Hi, I'm Dan Casenti. I'm a cognitive psychologist and a novelist. So I've been posting videos to YouTube about online dating and why it's so bad now. What makes it get such a bad reputation when the idea of it is actually pretty simple and a really good way to connect people up so that they don't have to meet randomly in the world, but rather can just go into a system where like-minded people are looking to make connection. So I reviewed 5 different factors where, the e-dating companies are playing a little fast and loose with their subscribers, telling them that they're giving them good service when they're actually shaking them down for more money and providing worse service. So those videos tended to be a little bit negative, and of course they were because they were talking about corporate manipulation of customers, which is never a positive topic. But today I want to go in a more positive direction. I want to outline for you what the ideal online dating app would look like. This will be able to provide you with kind of the reverse of what the e-dating companies are doing now to ruin online dating and give the people what they need to actually make connection. So let's get into it. I'll go through each of the videos in turn, just describing briefly what the problem is and then telling you how we can reverse it. So the first video was on the feed. Now, this was something that eHarmony introduced when it became the only competitor to Match.com. Now, at the time, Match.com was getting a reputation for toxic messaging. That's because anybody in the system could message anybody else that they were seeing in the system. Now, at the time, it was just heterosexual online dating, so it was men messaging women and women messaging men. And what tended to happen was that men were, mostly men, sometimes women, were issuing out really toxic messages. You can only imagine what it was like. It was like, our social media today when people could be relatively anonymous, trolling others, saying inappropriate things, making inappropriate suggestions. And so eHarmony wanted to capitalize on that. So they said, we can do compatibility matching, give you a feed, and limit you to only matching with the best people for you. We can actually figure out who those people are that are most likely to form a long-term committed relationship with you and only give you those. And I bet at the time it was a real relief to some people to see this happening. But the feed was really a way to slow walk people through their search for connection. eHarmony, to this day, does not know how to do compatibility matching. Now, compatibility matching is a really tough thing to do, and it's a really complex subject. So we're not going to talk about it anymore here. I'm going to present it in another video after this, and we can review all the different theories on how to do compatibility matching and figure out by the end of that whether it actually works or not. But for now, recognize that the feed was not the answer. The answer was what the apps are doing now, which is that you can only message people who like you back. That was the way to limit the amount of messaging and to eliminate, or at least get closer to eliminating toxic messaging. Because, if you think somebody's going to be toxic, just don't match with them and they can't communicate with you. Okay, so Match also did something that we wouldn't do in an ideal app. They offered full database access, but that doesn't make any sense. You don't want to see profiles for people who don't match your ideas of who you would match up well with. So you don't want to see the entire database. That would be wasting your time. Similarly, you also want to have backward compatibility matching. So everybody else, though if you are not within their preferences, then you shouldn't be seen by them either. And if they shouldn't see you, then you shouldn't see their profiles. So it would the ideal app would do backwards and forwards compatibility matching, only including in search results those people who want somebody with your qualities and when you want somebody with their qualities. And we would go back in the ideal app to the way Match did things originally with their search functions. So you could do keyword search, you could do sorting, and you can do filtering. So let's walk through an example of how that might work. Let's say that you're 30 years old and you're really looking for certain personality types. You're really into the Myers-Briggs type indicator. You know those four-letter unique combinations of letters, that those personality types do mean the particular personality types from that system. Let's say you're interested in matching with ISFPs and ISFJs. Just throw some random ones out there. Um, you can say in your keyword search ISFP or ISFJ, and that or would allow you to see both types of personalities. Now, maybe during your search, you say to yourself, no, actually, I'm better off with ISFPs. Now you can get rid of the or ISFJ, and that would bring you to only ISFPs who do forward and backward compatibility. So ISFPs who include your qualities in their latest search. Well, you might think that that's too many people, so you might reduce it to, let's say you have the hobby of sailing. Well, you could put in and sail, which would search for sail, sailing, sailed, any kind of derivation of that word sail, and that would only pop up people who were ISFPs and into sailing. That might be too limiting, so you might get rid of and sailing, saying, well, maybe I don't really need that. So you can dynamically change your search parameters as you go. Now, let's say you settle with just ISFPs, but then you say to yourself, whoa, they're all over the map as far as age goes. I'm 30, I only want to go up to 35 and as low as 25, but beyond that, I wouldn't be interested. So now you can put down a filter for those ages, and that would automatically eliminate anyone who's 24 or younger or 36 and older. And then you might say to yourself, okay, well, they're all over the map. I'm seeing people from California, Europe, Rhode Island, and I'm living in the Midwest. So I don't want all of that. I'm going to now sort by distance from me. So the distance between you and each of these profiles, it will be sorted up so that people closest to you would be at the top, people furthest away from you would be at the bottom. That's it. This ideal system would allow you to be in charge of your own searches. It wouldn't limit you by what the feed was willing to show you. And it would do backwards and forwards compatibility searching so that, your preferences, that's how the compatibility would work, your preferences and their preferences map out who can see who. Whatever that last search was that you did for the night, if you close up shop, that's what's going to stick. So if your search eliminates certain profiles, the people doing their own searches will not see your profile in their search. And that's pretty much how it will work. Not too complicated. Now the rest of the videos, we're going to move a lot faster because they're actually really easy to fix, every one of them. The second video was about online dating addiction. Now, as I said in that video, you can't get rid of it entirely, but you can try to mitigate or reduce the amount of online dating addiction there is. This one's a pretty simple fix. What you would do is try to give people different types of notifications on their phone. Now, as I said, the unpredictability of when somebody's going to like you, match with you, or message you is part of what creates addiction. Unpredictability, not just part of it, it has to be a property of addiction. Because if you know what's going to happen, you don't get addicted to that. That's just knowledge. It's not knowing that makes you addicted. So for new likes, new matches, and new messages, you can set notifications for any of those. And whichever 1 to 3 of those you set, those are the notifications you're going to get. So you don't have to keep going to the profile to see if you have any new activity, because your notifications would tell you that. It would help reduce addiction. The third video was about empty profiles. For the Ideal app, anybody who gets to communicate, whether it's likes or messages, they are going to all be subscribers. That's the way that the app can make money. If it's not going to make money, nobody's going to put it together, so it has to make money somehow, and that's how it would be done. As I talked about in that video, empty profiles are ones where people aren't subscribed, they can't communicate with you, and yet the apps still shove these profiles at people. That would no longer be done anymore. Empty profiles wouldn't be presented to people who are exploring whether to subscribe or not, to try to lure them in. That would not be happening anymore. Nor would any subscriber get an empty profile. So for both of those, empty profiles would just be stuck in a corner, not shown, and waiting for the person to choose to subscribe. That would be it. Now there's one more aspect to this that I didn't review last time, and that is that subscriptions really work in a weird way in the current apps. They just keep going, whether you're trying to connect with somebody or not. And that can make people feel like if they're connecting with somebody, maybe they shouldn't, because they still have extra time in their subscription to see if they can connect with somebody else. If that relationship that they're pursuing is going to work out, then great. But they don't know that, so they might have one foot in a developing relationship and one foot out of it searching for other people. To fix that, there would be the ability to pause your subscriptions in the Ideal app, so that if you're trying to connect with somebody, your subscription wouldn't just march on and not care about that. You could put your status into empty profile, where you would only have the chance to communicate with current matches. And that would allow you to explore the new relationship, and if it doesn't work out, come back up and reactivate your profile. It would make it so much better. The fourth video was about gamification. Again, just like online dating addiction, you can't eliminate that because some people are just really competitive. But you can make sure that the app doesn't support or encourage it. So instead of showing people point totals of how many people have liked them, matched with them, and how many messages they have, in the interface, there would just be tabs for each of those. And when the number changed or increased, you would be able to see it, because it would go from a red tab to a green tab saying, go, check this, there's some new activity in there. It wouldn't count them for you. Surely you could go in and count it yourself, but that would be something that you'd have to put the effort into doing. The last one is hack tokens. Hack tokens will be gone. No more hack tokens. So the 3 types of hack tokens were people viewing your profile. That wouldn't be a thing anymore. Knowing who's viewed your profile but not liked it is useless information. You're probably not going to connect with them anyway. The second type is a super like. Super likes would no longer be offered, because super likes, they don't really do anything for you, and they could even backfire on you. If you're interested in hearing more about that, I've got the video linked in the description. And lastly, the boost. A boost is no longer necessary. You don't have a feed. So there would be no more boosts allowed. It just wouldn't be a thing. And there's also the invisibility side of things. So you can make yourself anonymous to people in their searches. You would have that as an option. That's just to protect people in case they're in an unsafe situation. So it's offered to everybody. It's not a hack token anymore. Okay, and there's only one more thing to talk about for the app, and that is verification of people's pictures. This is a thing that a lot of apps are doing now. What they'll do is have you post profile pictures, and then they'll have you take your camera on your mobile device and look to each side, look up and down to try to let it analyze your facial features and see if you match the picture. I think that is a safe thing to do for people to be able to verify that that person is really who they say they are, or at least who their what their picture looks like. So there will be a lot less catfishing when you do that, and I think that is something that people should be able to have in the Ideal app. The rest of the questions are purely aesthetic, you know. How do you set it up? What kinds of visualizations do you have? This is not something that I'm going to discuss here. You can use your imagination with that. I think human factors specialists, which, you know, I've done some research in myself, they could address that kind of thing to build the Ideal app. But the way I've set it up, and you can see, it really favors long-term committed connections, and it doesn't attempt to rip off subscribers. And the current online dating executives out there might be like, oh, that system wouldn't make a whole lot of money. Well, no, it wouldn't make money, that much money, off of individual subscribers. But overall, if a dating app came into the scene and was actually doing its job without all these frivolous extra rules that the companies put in place, they would get a lot of good reviews. People would be talking about how wonderful it was that they got set up with the love of their life through this app. They would be willing to put out those reviews, and we could finally turn this ship around. Well, that's the end of this video. As I said, we're going to post another one on compatibility matching. I hope you'll tune in for that. If you like this video, if you want it to get out to more people, please hit like. Please subscribe if you haven't done so already. Feel free to leave a comment. Any of those things will help the Google algorithms say this video is providing good information that people like, and it should get out to more people. Well, thanks so much for watching till the end, and I hope this helped.